creek that was flowing as the video started. Today in my sermon at church, we were discussing Matthew 5:5, blessed are the meek. And we talked about meekness being availability and a controlled power inside of us that creates instead of destroys, like a gentle wind and not a hurricane. And our challenge was to find something that draws us close to God and to do it. Is the idea of intentionally being available to God, intentionally allowing that moment to come where He can speak or move through you. So you find those moments of inheritance of this earth where where the moment just belongs to you and God alone. And so I sat by that creek and I meditated on our reading for today, Mark chapter 10. And my eyes were drawn to this reading after James and John are kind of trying to elbow in and get the places at Jesus's right and left hand in His kingdom. And Jesus says, that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give His life a ransom for many. And I was thinking about the stark differences I see in the people who lead our churches. There are some who are very faithfully serving people. That's all they really want to do is serve people. And there are others who you can see in them the desire to be recognized and the desire to have authority over people. And I think it's when the desire is for recognition or the desire is for authority over other people or in situations to, instead of being a servant, being the one who is in charge and being recognized for that authority that you have. That's where the trouble is. My Bible had this little quote by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and he said, genuine spiritual authority is to be found only where the service of listening, helping, forbearing, and proclaiming is carried out. Every personality cult that bears the mark of the distinguished qualities, the outstanding abilities and powers and talents of another, even if those are thoroughly spiritual in nature, is worldly and has no place in the Christian community of faith. Indeed, it poisons that community. So he's like, even if these great powers and this great authority seems to be spiritual in nature, if it is the power of the authority that we begin to follow, that's poison in the community. And you can see that poison played out. I mean, Bonhoeffer was writing during Nazi Germany, so there's that in his vision. But in our vision, you can see what happens. We've seen it over and over again when the authority and the power and the wealth and the fame of the person who's leading a ministry, when that all crumbles down around them, when the personality cult falls, and so it makes me wonder, like, why do we so long to have these big, massive gatherings? Or why do we fight so hard to have the attractive, the young crowd and the minister who can light everybody's hearts on fire? I mean, sure, we want pastors who reach souls and touch lives, but these big gatherings where wealth is gathered, and the gospel is proclaimed merely as a means of fame and fortune, it like, I don't know, it's so dangerous and it's so poisonous, and yet we still follow that model instead of recognizing that, once again, Jesus takes a child and is like, serve the child. Be a servant. And I think being a servant is just too hard for us. We want to recognize the famous among us. People Magazine, it's TMZ. I mean, we want the scoop on the wealthy and the famous. But that's not why Jesus came. He's like, if you can take my place of authority, but you recognize my place of authority as a place where you give your life up for the people and serve the people. It's a lot to ponder on and think about, and really is clearing up a vision for me of where I want my ministry to be and go. So, hey, that's just a very little section of Mark. Hey, tell me what you think about his teaching on divorce. That's a good one. As a divorced fellow myself, how do I swallow that? Read through this and see what you think. Keep reading, you guys. Have a wonderful day. I'll be back at you tomorrow. Love you.